Well, if I may bring up uh, PlayStation's June event, I don't know if you want to discuss some of our thoughts on that. Uh, Now that the dust has settled and we've had a little bit of time to reflect on what PlayStation had to show, I still think they have a fair deal to go in terms of persuading me as a gamer who is predominantly Xbox gamer or PC gamer. But I started out on PlayStation. I do have an affinity for it. But what I'm specifically having an issue with is the messaging surrounding the PlayStation 5. The console is touted as being a native 4K machine that can go up to 8K. At a new 60 FPS standard, again up to 120 FPS. There's the first problem I have with its messaging. Sony's new TV lineup, right? The Sony X800H, 850H, 900H, OLEDs. Only one of the TVs supports HDMI 2.1 features, VRR, eARC, and auto low latency, which is the Sony X900H, which hasn't even been updated to do that yet. That to me, that's some of the newest cutting edge features that you want to be promoting, and Sony as a company isn't even implementing it into its TVs. So here we're bringing the world of gaming and tech and audio video files, if you will, but that's problematic to me. Compounding the issue is that every game that was shown at the June event was most likely for native 4K, but a lot of them were 30 FPS, which again, that doesn't convince me as a gamer, right? The Xbox One X is running Red Dead Redemption at native 4K 30 FPS already. I know I don't want to talk teraflops, that's all buzzwords and whatnot, but if consoles right now are doing a pretty convincing job of delivering 4K 30, whether it be dynamic or checkerboard, what have you, I'm hard pressed to find a reason why I should upgrade. And if you and I were discussing this recently, the new Spider-Man game, Miles Morales, it looks impressive on its own, but that looks like it's running on, like it could easily run on PlayStation 4 Pro. And we were discussing this recently again. Sony confirmed it's not going to come to existing console, right? Here we have an article from The Verge confirming that fact, right? It's only coming to PlayStation 5. I don't know how I feel about that. We're going through a financial global economic crisis in the form of COVID, and it's putting strains on our financial welfare. And here Sony is saying, yeah, well, too bad. You're not going to get to play the new Spider-Man. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, I think you touched on a great point there, about the game. It could potentially run on the PlayStation 4 based off what we saw at from the Sony conference not too long ago. I definitely think that we're still kind of in the shadows here. We're still in the blind in terms of what the PlayStation 5 is capable of. If that ends up being true, where one of their new titles is not being supported even on one of their previous generation consoles, such as the PlayStation 4, I definitely think that's a loss for Sony and for Sony customers. You look at Microsoft, and I think Microsoft, the one thing that they've been doing really great over the years, especially under the leadership of Phil Spencer, is really respecting the clients on previous platforms. You know, they're really catering to current gen and last gen players. I think, you know, I would say more so this generation of Xbox One X has been a lot, you know, there's been a lot of remasters and a lot of ports over to the Xbox One X and the Xbox One line of consoles. And some see it as a good thing and some see it as a bad thing. I'm kind of neutral about it. But I mean, of course, I'm always excited for a new Spider-Man game. I definitely would love to see more of the power of the PlayStation 5, and you know, Spider-Man being one of those AAA titles coming out for the PlayStation 5, or you know, for Sony. I definitely think there's a lot of excitement for that. However, you know, let's hope that they do release it for the PlayStation 4, because I think there's a lot of people that won't be jumping the gun to PlayStation 5 right away. Then again, there are rumors recently that have been going around the internet where the PlayStation 5 actually might cost a lot cheaper than we initially realized. If that ends up being the case, which we will touch upon later in this video, then, you know, maybe it will be more interesting for people to upgrade this generation than in previous generations, especially when you look at, you know, the discless version of the PlayStation 5. That's definitely going to cut costs there. So, you know, I guess at this point it's just wait and see. But I definitely think with the COVID-19 situation, it's made it very difficult to really, you know, in the past when I've been able to attend E3, for example, back in 2017, we were able to see the Spider-Man game. We were able to actually play a demo of it and have physical hands-on with it and see for our own eyes. We haven't really gotten that with this game or any other game for that matter so far. You know, let's see what Microsoft is gonna, you know, give us in the coming weeks, and when it comes to, you know, on their game showcase date.
They're gonna need to convince me on their console as well. They said that they already said their current gen of the current gen of Xbox Ones. By the way, the naming convention of Xbox, I don't know. They got to figure that out. But
I don't know what's going on over there.
The current generation, they're going to have access to first-party games for the next 2 years. I know that may, you know, stifle some gamers because they say, oh well, then what's the point, and blah blah blah. But that's fundamentally giving gamers choice. Now, it could be an excuse on Microsoft's part to maybe, I don't think it is, but you know, every game that they're making now and in the last 2 years has been quite scalable, right? If we look at Gears of War 4 and even 5, I'm not talking about the game in terms of, you know, rating. I'm talking about technical specs and what it had to offer graphically. It was quite impressive. Running that Gears of War 4 and Gears of War 5 on the Xbox One S at 1080p 60 FPS for multiplayer and 1080p 30 for multiplayer, that's not bad. And then when you move on to the Xbox One X, oh, it's 1080p 60 for the campaign if you want, or 4K 30, and then multiplayer's dynamic 4K 60 and hitting 1800 most of the time. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like they still they do give that consumer choice, and I don't feel like it's going to hold back the newer machines too much. But again, I don't know. We're going to have to see what's going to happen with this event in July. They really have to come out with, I need to say, 3 or 4 really big hitters in addition to Halo, right? I think well, they've been leading up to this for a while. There's rumors now that they're going to maybe buy Warner Brother Games Studios. I don't know if that is true, but it wouldn't hurt them either, right? They have right now roughly 15 AAA and AA studios that are going to churn out some games. I'm quite impressed with what I saw for Microsoft's Flight Simulator. Granted, that's pretty niche. Hellblade again is niche. So the only real game coming out that we know of that's going to really utilize what the Series X has to offer is Halo Infinite.
Right.
And we haven't seen much. So
no, we haven't. and there's a lot riding on 343. It puts a lot of pressure on 343 to deliver the Halo experience that many have been wanting over the years. Because let's be real here. I mean, I think Halo 4 and Halo 5 were very mediocre Halo entries. Now that's from from what I've heard from many other Halo lovers, especially from the Bungie days. That a lot of things haven't been consistent with Halo canon when it comes to Halo 4 and 5 and on the direction that 343 has been taking. So you have that, to worry about as well. And also the pressure of delivering on this AAA title for the next generation. Some would say that this amount of pressure is just the same as Bungie had back in the original Xbox days when they launched Halo 1 as an exclusive for the Xbox original. So again, there is a lot to show off on the showcase date, and I'm very excited for it. But I don't want to only be excited for Halo. I think that's the one thing that Microsoft has been lacking over the years. I'm not going to say that they haven't had great games. They've had great games. They haven't had one of those titles where you just want to play a sequel so badly. And, you look back in the 360 days when you had Gears of War, for example, this was a new title coming from Epic Games. And we were like, wow, what is this? I'm not saying we need a Gears of War level, in terms of scale.
No. Killer app. There has been no killer app. There's been some good games. I would wager that, Sunset Overdrive was excellent. It could have used a sequel, but it's not that killer app. And I agree with you, right? PlayStation 5 had plenty. Let's not get into Last of Us 2, but they had Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Bloodborne. Death Stranding, I don't know that it's a killer app, but they have a pretty versatile gaming exclusive gaming library that Microsoft is sorely lacking in. My hope is that those studios that they bought, last year and the year before, and potentially buying these new ones, they've been silent for a while, right? So my hope is that they've been working on something and they have something to show us. I heard rumors of a new Fable, maybe a reboot style like God of War, right? I heard something about Perfect Dark. I heard that there's new IPs that haven't even been disclosed yet because they've been saving them specifically for this show. And what I'm getting at is here, twofold. One, Phil Spencer. This is the culmination of his time as head of Xbox, right? If he doesn't come through now, I'm gonna be disappointed because now it's, he's been hyping this up. That whole team has been. Aaron Greenberg has been hyping this thing up for a while. I didn't care for their May event. That was lackluster.
It was quite lackluster.